Twitter strategy as a means of marketing, as a marketing channel. So first thing I have you do in the class is, and you can find this online really easily, Hootsuite has a great video on building a strong profile. You can find it on YouTube if you are in my class. The lecture notes has a link, and take a look at that. This is basically what they go through, and what I'm going to do here is show George Takei's Twitter profile. It has a lot of the elements that you want to have. He's got a good banner picture talking about what he's doing on Broadway, says who he is. He actually has a customer service number, so to speak, where you can text him at that number below. Has where he lives. That would be where your company is from. And even uses Linktree, which is a great way of tracking who clicks on what from Twitter. And then that's part of a good strong profile on Twitter. So you only have 160 characters, and it should include that contact info and any branded hashtags. He doesn't have any here, but you're welcome to use a branded hashtag in there if it's relevant. He doesn't really have one necessarily, but that's a good thing to do if you have one. If I was Nike, I would do hashtag just do it. Media gallery. When you are looking at it, Twitter in a browser, you will see the pictures that people have in there. And if you've done 6 tweets with photos, those ones are going to show up in there. So you want to be careful about what photos you do tweet. You want to make sure that you have professional photos in there. His are this is more of a personal account, but it's a good example of, like, if you are selling a product, you would want to do pictures of your product here and make sure that that gets in there, and because that's part of a full profile. You want to put your location. Where do you connect with customers? This is especially important if you have a brick and mortar business. People want to know where you are. And when you are in your settings, make sure that you're open for DMs, right? So receive messages from anyone. You want to have that checked off so that if someone wants to do business with you or buy something from you, they can DM you. Now, the issue here for many businesses is actually having someone that is using Twitter so that these messages are answered. So that's one thing to make sure of when you have a small business, especially, is that whether it's you or someone else, that there's always someone that is available for this, because I have reached out to companies before that I thought were bigger and never gotten response to my DMs on Twitter. It's a kind of an important thing. You should have your notifications set up on your phone and ready for it, but this does have to be checked. So your DMs have to be open. Here, I'm not sure what these posts are about. Clearly, he wasn't a fan of our last president, but it does show what you like. So when you are using your business account on Twitter, you just want to be thoughtful. You might like tweets from your partners or complementary products or services that you work with. That would be a good thing to do, so that if someone was checking out your company, what we call social listening, that they would also see what you like. And you want to have it be professional and in line with what your vision and mission is. So social listening, right? Twitter is a great place for brand, for products, to find out what's going on with your competitors and also in the industry. And that's what a lot of people use it for. And it's a good thing to just be aware of when you're creating your Twitter strategy and using Twitter. For people that have a more newsy base, that are making news, it's a great place for it, for doing so and reacting to it. What I do want to make sure to point out is that there are companies that are tone deaf, right? You might have heard about this in recent years from a couple different companies, and the dictionary definition is a relative insensitivity to differences in musical pitch. Well, tone deaf on Twitter is like a relative insensitivity to the general feeling out there or what people are talking about. So let's take a look at a couple examples. One would be you could take a look at the Washington Post video on Pepsi from a couple of years ago, and here's some screenshots from it. So Kendall Jenner did this commercial with Pepsi where, she went up to this policeman and gave him a Pepsi, right? And it caused a lot of concern. Bernice King, the daughter of civil rights leader Martin Luther King, tweeted about the ad, like if only her dad had known about Pepsi. It caused a lot of fuss, right? And Pepsi initially stood by the ad and said that they didn't do anything wrong. But the truth is that if they had done a usability test. If they had shown the ad to a diverse group of people, they probably would have been told not to run it. And so Pepsi took a little heat for that, and they eventually apologized, saying they missed the mark. But it was a good example of them being a little tone deaf as to what was going on in America at that time with the beginnings of the BLM movement and with Black Lives Matter. Another one, Uber didn't really get in trouble for this or anything like that, but there was some kickback around Martha Stewart, who is a convicted felon who spent time in jail representing Uber. The last thing you want is one of your drivers to be a felon, right? So this one didn't cause them any harm really, but it is something to think about and to think about potential perceptions when you're using influencers and whatnot with your brand. Another example would be United Airlines. They had this epic disaster where that doctor got pulled off the plane, right? And it caused a lot of fuss. And United Airlines didn't do a good job at explaining what happened or rectifying the situation. This was a story from CNN, so it's something that we need to think about. Their shares dropped 4% in that time period, and there was 1 million views per hour of that video. This was not good press for them. But let's also look at Twitter wins, right? And Wendy's is a great example of this. Wendy's has been poking fun at McDonald's for a couple years here, and their voice is just kind of fun and a little sarcastic, and it's gone over really well for them, and they've gotten a lot of followers because of it, right? So, like in a situation like this one, where someone asks to be roasted, and they say, get one of your 51 followers to roast you, right? Roasting without roasting. And um, and then finally, oh, this one looks like it was a little bit off for some reason. I also wanted to take a look at the advanced search capabilities of Twitter as a final part of this learning module. If you go to the advanced search, it's really amazing. So here's a situation where I'm a chess fan and I'm interested in Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen. I knew they were playing. I didn't have any news on them. And look what I was able to do. I was able to put in keywords. I was able to put in hashtags that might be under. I could fix the language up. I could say none of these words. So you can say use chess, but not checkers, that kind of thing. And I could do a search that way. And this is a really great way to do some competitive research, by the way. But I was able to do that, and I was able to find out who won the game and find out new Twitter profiles to follow in the chess geekness that I have. So tweets can be up to 280 characters now. They raised the limit a couple years ago, and one of the things, these are a couple things to think about. You want to post about things that'll help your audience. You want to use a couple hashtags, multimedia where capable, where possible, and you want to engage your audience. Make sure to be active also in terms of retweeting like accounts that you support and following products, services, whatnot, partners that are appropriate for your business. And you typically want to keep things short. Finally, let's take a look at Twitter analytics. If you have an analytics account and you type in analytics.twitter.com, you will come up with this. It will tell you, here's an example from BuzzFeed that I just picked up, but it shows you how well your posts are doing. And this is great because you can kind of like start making some strategy and tactics around what kind of post you do based on what the popularity is. Now, you don't always want to follow that to the rule, but you can find out what your target group or what the people that follow you want to see. And you can find out where they're coming from and how many link clicks you get and that kind of thing. So Twitter analytics is a great place to check things out. So that's a quick and dirty Twitter profile and analytics and tone deafness module. And just something to remember with our final social media platform for the quarter.